whole point of this is to show everybody great places that you can take the family in a stock rig and then get out there where you don't need crazy builds. You don't need you don't need a Jeep on tons and 40s to go out and enjoy, especially when you're packing a family in. Because when you're doing that, if you got a trailer or rig in, that adds a whole nother layer of complexity and planning. So these trails that we're going to go over, we've been to all these places. All these videos are on our channel. And it's a great way just to get out, camp for the weekend or however long you want to, and just enjoy the countryside. All right, so hopefully everything's working good. The first place we're going to look at is the land between the lakes. And the land between the lakes is in Kentucky. So they've recently added a section to land between the lakes. It's called Turkey Bay, and it's been there for pretty much as long as the peninsula has been there. But they've added a Jeep badge of honor to it. So if you want to go down there, and if you're collecting badges, then it'll definitely be one for you. Now, land between the lakes is on the peninsula of Kentucky Lake. So as I pull up here on Gaia, you can see here that the peninsula is pretty much covered with trail. I mean, the whole thing is pretty much one trail after another. You can see here is all these routes that are in Gaia, and I would think if you have Onyx Off-Road or any of the others, it'll all be on there as well. But there's a lot of camping, and in Turkey Bay itself is the off-road park. We've been there and we've plotted our route through there. You can typically find camping right along the shore here, and it's a great time just to get out there and wheel. And if you want to get really stupid, there's buggy lines out there as well, so you can do that also. But for the most part, the trails are easy to moderate. And once again, if you want to go mild to wild, well, that can accommodate you as well. During rainstorms, you might want to keep an eye on it because it'll get a little swampy out there, but for the most part, it's really good. And then once you've done the trails out at Turkey Bay, you can always go out to the rest of the peninsula, and you can see all these trails out there. They're very well marked. They're known trails. Whether or not you got to clear anything on them, well, anybody's guess there. So it's a great place to go out and go camping. Make sure you check in if you are hunting badges. When you access the bridge to get in there, it's you're right on the peninsula. You keep on calling it an island. It's not an island. But there are camping and hotels and stuff like that around there as well. So that'll always be available to you. All right, so that's Turkey Bay, land between the lakes. It's a great destination spot. It's easy to get to. Now, the next one we just came back from. The next one is Drummond Island. So Drummond Island is on the upper peninsula of Michigan. And depending where you come from, if you're driving up there, be leery of this section that's on as you come through Illinois and Indiana. There is a lot of traffic as of September 17th of 22. There's a lot of road construction there. So if you can swing out a little bit more and come up like through Fort Wayne, That's how we came home. There was very little traffic, very little road construction. But as you go through Michigan, you'll go across the Mackinack Bridge, and it's a very cool bridge. It's a $4 toll, and it's definitely well worth it. You can't beat the scenery. Unfortunately, if you go through there at night, there's not a lot to see and do. It's just all black. So when we went through there at nighttime. Couldn't wait to see it during the day, but the obstacle is, nighttime and water. There's not a lot of light out there. So as you go through the bridge up into the upper peninsula, there's not a lot to see at night. Now during the day, there's a lot to see and a few things to do. But as you make your way over to the ferry, and the only way to access the island is the ferry. It's $20 round trip as of the 17th of September of 22. The ferry will take you across, and it's a pretty quick ride. It's about a half hour, if that. And the whole island is full of trails, and there's a couple gas stations, couple restaurants. You will have to get ORV tags, and as you get into Drummond Island, there's a visitor center there, and just catty corner from there is a hardware store where you'll actually go get your ORV tags. It's something odd like $36.25, and they only take cash for those. So, and they don't have a ATM there, right? So you have to go across the street to the bank. So make sure you take cash in there. And then as you cross over, we stayed at this really nice campground. We met up with a couple Jeepers. One of them, Chris, with 7slats.com. We met up with him, and he found these campsites for us, and it was really nice. And if you watch the video from Drummond Island, you see it's a really nice campground. You're right off the lake, and truthfully, I didn't realize that we were right off the lake until the sun came up, because when we drove in here, it was coal black. There are no street lights or anything on the island that I've seen, at least. So from there, we camped out. We camped there for 2 nights. First night, it rained really hard. They actually ended up having a tornado warnings on the lower peninsula. So we got rained out a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So we did the trail. Now that's also a badge of honor loop. It's the South Marblehead Loop. Make sure you check in if you're hunting badges. Once again, not a crazy loop. A lot of good wheeling on the trail, but it is geared up around family wheeling. So if you can load the family up and you can get out on the trail, and then you don't have to worry about, am I going to break down or anything like that. But if you watch the video and see the loop, there's one obstacle on there, and there's a couple lines on there that you can either take the real easy lines up and down. You can challenge a little bit, but really the payoff isn't as much the obstacle is when you get to the far side, overlooking the Great Lake there. And if you get on the north side of the island, you can actually see Canada off there in the distance. It's pretty amazing. And most of the water traps you run into are most of the water pits and everything you run into, you always want to check to make sure there's not too deep. But most of them are rock. The island is mostly rock. There's not a lot of mud. So you don't have to worry about dropping off into, you know, feet and feet of mud. Now, that's not to say that in the off-road park itself, we didn't get into, I think it's Turtle Bay or something like that. Not say there's not a lot of mud there, but the rest of the island, from what we had seen, was water pits, but it was all rock bottom. But once again, you always want to check, and you always want to take recovery gear with you just in case, because you just never know. But once again, it's a great ORV tags, cash only. You'll have to pay the $20 round trip on the ferry, and you get a $4 trip for the bridge. Campsites, I think, were like $16 from what I remember. The guy who went with us, Chris, he'd actually paid for it, and but overall, other than gas getting up there, very inexpensive trip. All right, as suspected, first time out, not a lot of people that I know of are watching. There's no questions popping up. If you got questions, put them in there, and it'll pop up for me, and I can answer them. We can interact a little bit. All right, so the last one is a great trip we took when we were out in Colorado. So we had a Jeep Talk Show meetup, and if you've ever listened to Jeep Talk Show, quite a few of us are in their Discord room, and you can always message me, and I'll get you an invite for the Discord room. We had a trip. We all met up in Amarillo, Texas, and then drove through New Mexico up into Colorado. Bill, the gentleman who planned out most of the route, did a phenomenal job on that. And we started out in Colorado. We went through the Great Sand Dunes National Park. And if you've never been, it's something you definitely want to see sometime. And one of the gentlemen who came with us actually hiked to the top of the dunes and said it was an amazing sight. They have a gift shop and a tourist center there. So if you end up going there, make sure you stop by the Sand Dunes National Park, the visitor center and everything. Let's see, I just realized I'm not showing that area. So let me turn that on. Okay, so Sand Dunes National Park. As you come up to the lower half of it there, once again, a lot to see and do there. If you like sand, there's plenty to do. And I don't know where they got them from, but somebody was bringing in these, looks like big wide skateboards almost, and they were actually like snowboarding down the sand dunes. Looked fun. Not my bag, but I would think with better knees, it would be a lot of fun. So from there, we made our way up to the Medano Pass. So you can see here, as you come up along through here, need to make sure that I am sharing that. Okay. As you come up through here, there are a lot of campsites, and these were all free campsites. You can see the campsite numbers right here on the screen, and I'll put all of this into the descriptions for this live. So all these campsites were our first come first serve, and we ended up finding a really nice campground that we had 4 vehicles. I think that's right, and then plenty of room to spread out. There was a campfire and really great time. Trying not to sneeze here. But the campsite fit all of us great. And ironically enough, the latest video from Trail Recon, they stayed in the same exact campground as we did. So if you're watching his videos as well, those are the campgrounds we stayed at. Now we went on to do Stony Pass, and then on our channel, Jeepingmo again, you'll see it's labeled as Stony Pass, and we'll cover that on the next live. But we start at the Great Sand Dunes National Park, and through a couple nights of camping, we end up on Stony Pass. So once again, especially the Colorado trip, there's a lot to see and do. Especially if you're new to Jeeping or new to getting off road, you don't got to have a Jeep to do any of this stuff. You could very easily be a Toyota or a Bronco, or it's all about getting out, enjoying the countryside. You don't need crazy builds. For the most part, you get done all this in a really nice pickup truck just as well. If you want to go do the crazy lines, you can. And if you've seen the video from Drummond Island, there was a couple there that had a really nice Toyota pickup truck with a camper shell that was doing some of the stuff on Drummond Island. You could done all of that here as well. If you want to go out and do the crazy, well, there's plenty of opportunity for that as well. So as you go through, you'll be able to see all the different campsites before you make it over the pass. And then Madonna Pass here, it was a great area. There was some water on the trail. A few people actually got some water on the hood from hitting the puddle a little hard. But for the most part, easy wheeling. And once again, you had a couple little water crossings we went through, but nothing to where you had to worry about drowning out. Now, if you had torrential downpours, you definitely want to be careful for some of that. But for the most part, it was pretty easy. One of the gentlemen on the Colorado trip had a stock XJ. I don't know how much lift he had, but it was a 31s to 32s is what he was rolling on. So we had that, anything from that to JKs on 37s. So you didn't need to have the crazy build, but you did need to get out and see everything. All right, so that's 3 really nice places to get out. I'll leave the descriptions and I'll try to put some coordinates in there for Gaia so you can see all these, and then get out and see the countryside. In the future, if you come into live, I would really appreciate some questions. If you got some good questions, if you want to get on, I'll actually share your video with it if you want to ask a question live. If you want to see any fabrication or anything like that, we can do that just as well. I hope you enjoyed the live. Look forward to some interaction in the future, and I'll see you on the next live.